go, I just turned it on and started.
Okay. So we'll come to order. So, did anyone have any items to add or subtract from the agenda?
Bring it up on here.
So as we're kind of reviewing our agenda first, I want to welcome our new members. I don't know, Grace, if you're officially voted in yet. or
I don't know, I have submitted the application, so.
Yeah, we're gonna treat you as you're one of our own.
Okay.
So welcome, and Sherry, welcome as
Thank
our
you.
board of trustee delegate or whatever,
Crazy
representative.
person on the board.
It's important, I think, I try to go fairly efficiently with our meetings, but since you two are new, don't hesitate to ask questions. We wanna make sure things, sometimes I might say we can talk later, 'cause bringing folks up to speed may take more time. And the kind of timing, we're kind of in somewhat of a low part of the year, but that's okay, it's a good way to start. The best I could recall is our last meeting was in September. So I distributed the minutes, so we have the folks that were present at the meeting, any edits to our, usually Leon catches a typo.
I didn't see any.
You didn't see any?
Nope.
So we have a motion to approve,
So moved.
and a second, Don.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so our minutes approved.
The only thing I see is under attendance, is Leon.
Oh, caught a typo that Leon missed. There's a J in front of it.
Jolyon.
Oh, sorry.
That's your alias, right?
Yeah, I didn't look it over that
It's
closely.
your stage
This
name.
is, it's his rapid name there.
Yeah, I'll delete that, but, all right, so we've got a little bit of public here. Any comments from our public? We open up twice the meeting, the beginning and the end. We're also, we are pretty informal, so anytime if you have questions, just chime in. So,
Would it be possible for everyone to introduce themselves?
oh,
So,
certainly,
I mean, I know
yeah.
some people.
So why don't we go?
You start.
Dan Ray.
Yeah, and I'm Dan Hayes, I chair the Park Lake Advisory Board, and I live on the east side of the lake.
Sherry Kellerman, new trustee. I have a 40-acre farm on Peacock Road. Been here 45 years.
I'm John Yurkon. I live on Short Street.
I'm Don Parkey, I live on Culver Drive.
Leon Butler, Park Lake, you know me.
And it's Jan?
I'm Jan Dirksen.
Okay, so I may not remember names or faces, but we welcome you here. So, thanks.
I'm just I have a degree in natural resources and environmental ed, and I've done the trainings in lake and stream management,
Oh,
that
okay.
sort of thing. So I've been interested in this sort of thing, and I taught at BAC for many years.
I think we might have met before. The story sounds familiar, but,
Yeah.
yeah, so no, welcome. And we actually, I think, are still a member short, maybe. So we're always looking. Sometimes folks just sit there. That's what happened to me. I sat there once, and then you're on the board. Kind of how it tends to work.
Funny how that works.
Yeah, but yeah, we can chat later, so I'm in the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife at Michigan State.
Oh, that's where I graduated.
So that, I think Greg said.
Yeah, I know we've met.
Yeah,
So,
and then,
yeah.
if you took the stream and lake management courses, that was probably Joe Lattimore and Lois Wolfson. Joe was one of my PhD students. Lois and I worked in cohorts at the same time, so it's a small world.
You know David Wright, right?
Yeah, okay, not well, but I know.
Yeah.
Know of him, so anyways, public comments, so for our, again, for the sake of our new members, just process, kind of, I inherited this process, and kind of, I think it's good, is, Rick Price had kind of brought this to our board operation, and we have a set of action items that we review each meeting, just as a touchstone, and if nothing happens, that's fine. It's a reminder of things we board kind of efficient, but also effective to the extent we are an advisory board, we actually don't make any decisions, we just unlimited powers of advice. Yeah.
Needed.
And I've had much advice given to me that was physically impossible. So anyways, I'll usually go through, Phragmites, in case you don't know, is an invasive plant, a wetland plant. It's a real tall one with a plume-like head. There was some present on the lake, and we got that addressed, through treatment. There's some along kind of the trail / berm / dam.
I had some pop up in my little riverbed this year.
Yeah, the seeds can get transported. If you go down Park Lake Road itself, down toward, I don't even know, the cross street before the
Coleman.
the
Coleman.
sun farm.
Coleman.
Coleman, there's some right on the road, so as seeds can be transported, so there's some along, it's, the SISMA is the, something invasive species management area. Let's see, cooperative invasive species management area. So those are kind of tri-county type of organizations. And they have money and people to do things. But their folks on board are new, so it just kind of fell apart. The other thing is some of that's on private property, so getting permission to chemically treat it, that's the main treatment for that, is layered. So anyways, probably nothing, and the main treatment for Phragmites is in the fall, so kind of, that's on hold, but that's what that's about. Coliform, I think most of y'all know, we had in 2021, I think it was, or 2022, when the beach got closed because of coliform, and since then, before then, I do just spot checks usually around the 4th of July for coliform, and we didn't have problems, but then that year, the Mid-Michigan Health Department started testing more regularly and detected problems, which we then, comes down to goose management that we've done, and that's been successful in minimizing coliform. Lake monitoring, Dawn has kind of been our key lake monitorer. And I think we're planning on again in 2024, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think she's sent the check in yet, but it's on.
The check's in the checkbook, but it'll be in the mail soon enough.
Yeah.
So in there, we, Dawn usually takes the lead on Secchi disc, which is a measure of water clarity. It's a little round disc that's painted black and white, and you lower the water and how far you can see it as a measure of how clear the water is that's repeatable. Also takes phosphorus samples, that's the main limiting nutrients for plants and aquatic systems, and takes a spring and a fall sample, and then I usually lead a survey of the aquatic vegetation in the lake, both invasive and native. So those are our kind of things we do. There's other programs that do oxygen, again, gone there. The equipment's more expensive and our lake's so shallow, it's kind of questionable how critical that measurement is. Purple loosestrife, I think, is kind of one that we don't quite know what to do with. So we have observations. We've done several weevil releases, which is a form of biological control for purple loosestrife, which is an aquatic invasive species. Doesn't seem like it's helped. A cold winter like this might wipe them out. Sometimes they're real effective, eat all their food, they die out, and then the seeds pop up, and then you get it again. This is the tricky part of this plant. It grows right on the edge. You've seen some near your house. It's near any of our houses. Because its feet are in the water, you legally can't disturb the roots, like by shovel digging, but I wouldn't say anything if I saw it, but again, legally you can't do that. Being in that weird area, spray treatments aren't really recommended. So it's just, and the weevils are kind of on and off their effectiveness. So that's background. Personal opinion, and I highlight opinion, is it's kind of where it is an invasive species, but it's kind of naturalized where it's not totally crowding out everything else. I go tromping through a lot of these wetlands, and there's plenty of other diversity there. And again, the difficulties treating it, it can be, I think, in small patches, you can cut the above ground part of the plant and then remove it before it goes to flower and seed. You can burn that. Kind of it has some effect, but it's pretty tough to treat. So really nothing to do there, although we can discuss whether we want to try beetles again. Goose management, Karen indicated they'll continue that's been effective in keeping or minimizing geese on the beach. And how it's worked is in the spring, the company that's been involved, and again, they may hire out somebody else, but the company, they've done egg oiling. So with geese, the problem largely was that geese can have lots of babies, 6, 8, something like that, maybe even 10. And I've done surveys, we usually have 8 to 9 nests on the lake, so that's 80 or 90 babies. And before they can fly, and if somebody's feeding them near the beach, you've got a machine. So egg oiling is basically where they put oil on the eggs, that kills the embryo in the eggs, but they leave the eggs in the nest, because if you just take the eggs, they'll just lay more. So that's a way to kind of fake them out, and then they finally, after 3-4 weeks, say, oh, well, I guess kids aren't growing up, and the adults then are kind of more flexible to move around. We'd have, before the lake froze, I mean, there were hundreds of geese out there. I mean, just because it was open water, but it's not really affecting coliform now or early spring, so the other thing I didn't really notice, again, folks who live closer, whether they did the dog harassment. That's another way to kind of locally kind of get them shoot away from the beach, even the ones that are residual. So again, the main goal of that is to keep the beach as goose poop free as possible. The nature trail has been a long ongoing saga. For a while, our board spearheaded that initiative, and then it was cooperative with Parks and Rec, and then the Board of Trustees said it was Parks and Rec's baby, and then Parks and Rec's kind of wrecked, I think, is accurate. And now it's really been mostly handled at the township kind of administrative level. But we're still kind of trying to put pressure and trying to be involved with knowing about it. I got an email from Karen actually today, and I think the property easement is still in, kind of transfer is still in the process, but apparently there's costs involved with that somewhere, either lawyers or filing fees, and I think that's what's the status now. Kind of before that, maybe 2 years ago, there were funds allocated toward that project, but really didn't get expended because of, again, these kind of property issues. Finally, it's more relevant in the August meeting, but one of our major things is to recommend budget for lake treatment. Again, we'll get to our annual report, we try to report what was kind of expended, and I think it was on the order of $30,000 in 2023 for both goose and macrophyte treatment. So those are, I think that's our kind of major input, is kind of a request for how much, and working with the applicator kind of where to focus to some extent. So those are our action items. We don't really have any actions on them this meeting, but we still want to touch them. So any questions, or does that give you the Cliff Notes version of what's going on?
No.
Sherry?
No, thinking about all of them.
There's a lot, and
That-
again, so this will take time to kind of
Right.
digest.
I mean, the trail thing just keeps getting dropped, as I've understood from lots of frustrated people that come to the board meetings. It's on the agenda every single meeting, over and over and over, and the people that live near there just, they're frustrated with it.
Yeah. So that's where my view is, our board has been championing it. I'm pronouncing that.
Championing.
We've been highlighting the importance of the trail.
There you go.
That's better.
Porky pig, I can only say it one way. But as kind of our board liaison, kind of bringing that to their attention, I think, is important, you know, that's where, again, we can advise, that's all we do. I think we've had letters go forward, we've been frustrated that there's been decisions made and we haven't been involved, so in that sense, we can't give you advice if we don't know what the heck's going on.
Exactly, I hear it all over the place, I hear the board, it's not, communication skills are lacking somehow. Hey, Judy?
So those are things that, again, you know, the board of trustees sit in a special place, and again, those are important things to, you know,
Right.
it doesn't say it's gonna fix it, it's just, that's,
And is there anything moving on dredging, cleaning, is that just impossible?
so, that's down in our future
I do
items,
have
kind of.
one question about purple blue stripe, so, in regards to the weevils, like, I do mosquito treatment. Now, is that possible that affects
No, they were
weevils?
released on the other side.
The other side, okay.
And they're just, I'm skeptical of how well they work. Just, I think there's been rare cases when they, you know, kind of, it's a big area, you buy, how many did we buy, like 500, 5,000, I don't know.
That was 400, I think his number.
You know, you put out
Oh, that's
400
not a lot.
bugs,
Yeah.
much more, it costs a lot more. It's more you're hoping they take and they reproduce, but if they don't
Right.
reproduce, game over. So I don't think your mosquito treatment's really having an effect on that.
Okay.
So, but I'll go back, not to.
No,
go
that's
back
fine.
to the dredging,
Yes,
so that's been a kind of consistent discussion point. And,
had
the,
bids
the
on it?
short, pardon?
There were bids made for,
No, we have no
Cost
bids.
was- oh,
So let
okay,
me-
okay.
I'll try to give you again the
Okay.
shortened version and we can talk longer. So, the board, we brought that issue up and I kind of was directed to do a little more digging. So I talked to the DEQ about it, because to do that requires DEQ
Yeah.
permits. And so the two elements to that is the person who kind of handles those was quite candid that now, in this era, it is very rare to have a dredging request agreed to, and certainly not for broad areas. That's just how their kind of policy has been implemented. And to even do the request, you need to do kind of an environmental impact statement. Those, just doing the background environmental studies can be hundreds of thousands
Right.
plus. And personal view is, that's money wasted, because so those permit requests are available, publicly available. So she said, if you wanna see what other towns have done, go ahead, so you can, you know, and this was years ago, I sent that out. You know, some townships wanted to dredge just where they had a marina. And they spent the money, did the request, denied. I mean, I think it is unrealistic to, again, Lake Lansing was dredged in the past, that was a different era. That's just to get the permit. The costs then are tremendous. You first need to determine if the sediments are contaminated, because if they are, you're screwed.
yeah,
But even if they aren't contaminated, the law is they have to be trucked outside of the watershed to be disposed of. You can't just go suck them out and throw them up on the bank.
Okay.
They have to go outside the watershed, and transporting that type of material is a bugger, it's expensive, so it's literally, you know, in the millions to think of dredging any sizable area. So, we have that question a lot, and, you know, we as a board have discussed it, and it's just not worth pursuing in that it's unlikely. And I'll be blunt
Yeah.
with a lot of things, you know.
Yeah, sure.
I can't spend a lot of time trying to do the background
Right,
studies. that
right.
If I was gonna do that, I'd be a consultant asking for money to do it.
Right.
So I've done, I think, you know, we have done due diligence on that. If people are interested, I think I still have the web link to where those you know, the permit requests are, so people can see the level of complexity it
Yeah, yeah.
requires just to be denied.
Okay.
So, that being said, we do have serious issues with sediment. It's just, you know.
the nature of the beast,
Well,
kind of.
well, the fate of all lakes is to fill in. That's a natural process. We have accelerated it through human activities, however, that is a natural process for lakes to become bogs, to become dry land eventually. That's just how those ecosystems evolve, so, but that's a, you know, a key question we hear frequently. So, Any other questions on action items? So Friends of Park Lake report. Do you have stuff to report to us, Judy?
Sure. Happy New Year. Nice to see you all. Just on a personal note, I have a move-in date for my house.
Yes. Yay.
So we are getting done. The board for Friends of Park Lake met last night and we set our priorities for 2024. Number one is the nature trail, of course, and we will be conducting at least monthly walking tours of the nature trail, starting as soon as the weather breaks, I would say probably March. These will be informational. We'll do some targeted invitations to policy makers and funders so they can see exactly what it is we're talking about back there. Many of our there are new local elected officials who need the opportunity to go back there. Another one of our priorities, again, will continue to be traffic calming. We did a walking tour last year with the Clinton County Road Commission of Park Lake Road and discussed with them the barriers to safely walking, riding, or pedaling down Park Lake Road, and some recommendations that we made. The Road Commission has had an engineering study done on crosswalks at the park, from the park to the boat launch and from the beach to the parking lot across the street, and I think that when they move forward with that, that'll be really helpful. But we will continue to pursue signs along the road. One that we were positive about last night was indicating that there's a beach ahead, and if we can't get it on township property, then we would go to a private landowner whose property is before the beach and see if we can't put a sign on private property that says that there is a beach ahead, because we really think that that's very important. We would also like to have a sign down by State Road that says, "Welcome to Park Lake," just so people know there's a lake there.
Yeah.
We could say a family-friendly community or an environmentally friendly community, but we want to try to get a permanent sign down there at State Road on Park Lake Road, welcoming people to Park Lake. I think we think people who are coming out of Meridian Township at 55 miles an hour and into the neighborhood might notice that sign and slow down, so we think that's really important. We will have our summer solstice party again this year on the summer solstice. June 21st, we'll have music and maybe a beer tent. We haven't figured that out yet. But entertainment, not just for children and families, but for other people in the community as well. We will have our family-friendly bike ride, which will be the first Saturday in June. Last year we did a 10-mile ride, a 20-mile ride, and a 30-mile ride. These were destination rides, and again, we will do destination rides this year. And the last thing that we're really going to work on is organizational development. Trying to get more people to, Friends of Park Lake is a all-volunteer membership-based nonprofit organization, and so members are really important. So we're going to try to figure out how to get our membership up and running again, organized so that we get more members and keep track of when their dues are due and things like that. We're happy to keep working with you. The boat cleaning station at the boat launch does need a new piece of equipment, and we'll get that before this spring. So do you have any questions? I'm happy to answer them. And thank you for your good work.
I think that's very thorough. Thank you, Judy, and we'll thank the Friends of Park Lake for all they do. And also, I emailed you.
What'd you say?
I emailed you. I don't know if you read.
Yeah, I did. It's not due today. I'll get it done though.
Yeah.
I started it today.
Yeah, no, that's good. To our annual report. So then, not so much today, but in general, we like a township report, meaning things from the board of trustees, because you go to the meetings that are relevant to the lake. I mean, there's too much to summarize, but, I don't know if there's been any recent actions by the board that are, again, relevant to the lake, or whatever you want to convey.
Okay, I will keep track of that.
Yeah, so that's, again, more for future.
Okay, we did pick out some things in order to do different projects
Pardon?
But I think they allocated monies to certain projects in certain order at the Wiswasser Park. There's something
Okay.
resurfacing that parking area was one.
Okay. Well, that's actually pretty relevant, so one
Yeah,
of
I'll get the notes on that and
yeah. That- I think that was on our.
resurface that parking area, I think was what.
Yeah, so on our future item list, we have boat ramp parking area renovation is
that's-
something that we were waiting for the board of trustees. So again, this is an example where it's relevant to the lake and we don't know what's going on.
Right,
So
okay.
that actually will get elevated to an action item list. And again, to the extent we can provide advice, you know, I'm not a parking engineer, but I'm a boat owner and the current configuration stinks for the boat launch. And again,
With a capital stink.
yeah, so, again, you know, I view that's one of the functions of the board is to
Yeah.
help advise with that. If we don't know, we
Right.
can't give advice. So, John, I don't, oh, you did bring some
Yeah.
water level, I incorporated them into the annual report. So you aren't out taking water levels now,
No.
a little firm.
This is,
So as we distribute it here, do you want to explain particularly to our new members what this all is and what you do?
well, I'm just keeping track of the water level of the lake. I measure it down at
Can I take them to Judy?
the Park Lake Creamery.
I was out,
Oh, over too late.
I was out in Newark.
And Don already has one.
Oh, I didn't need one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you did.
You've got one.
These are the years, these are the things that's done for the years, and so we started monitoring for the back there.
Wow, that's quite huge.
And I think Judy's doing a good job of explaining it.
13, what was the lake?
It was down a lot, and that was pre-development of the new dam. So that was part of the impetus for that. And if you look, it was vertical a foot lower. So at some level, I mean, I know your house, you get it.
It's right up to my back door,
Yeah, and that was probably one of the properties that's been affected by the raising to some extent. But like the rest of the lake, I think has really benefited from having a fuller lake. And the history on that was that back, what was it, the forties or fifties, there actually was a judgment to have an official lake level, and it just fell by the wayside. And finally, and then we had the special assessments and all that, so. Since then, though, there's a lot of variation year to year. You can see this year, we had a fairly dry period early, and then it's been a wet year throughout the summer, kind of unusual. You know, this is, what's,
That
2020.
I'm
Pardon?
sorry, that last data point is December 7th.
Yeah, so you were able to get out, you know. I mean, I think that's the highest the lake's been in December. We had one year in 2019, we got a little bit of a bump late, you know, kind of early January. But yeah, but yeah, if you look at that top point and then the lowest down in 2013, that was 16 inches vertical lower. You know, that's a heck of a lot of water difference. So again, John's the one who's been taking this for now, this is 10 years worth of data, nearly every week or so, and
Well, there's about another 10 beyond that.
oh, before that,
Yeah.
So, no, those will be all down, down low, so. One thing that this provides a wealth of information, you get to see year to year. Things that will segue to with the annual report is for anybody who's reading it, you know, what's the most effective way to communicate this? Because again, at some point, things get too many lines, we call them spaghetti graphs, and they're hard to interpret. For some of the graphs, I've taken it to the point where we have kind of an average, and then we can compare, and then a minimum and maximum, so you just see where you're at. But any thoughts on methods for presenting this information, you know, is appreciated. Just, we want to make sure it's as accessible as possible, but as information rich as possible. Good. Well, thanks, John. Any
It's awesome.
questions?
I love this.
Nice, great.
You know, record low bar, the record high bar, and then this year's bar, just as reference would be handy to know, and then that zero marks and know where it's standing would make it a little bit easier to read, but I can see pretty clearly, it's just 10 years kind
Yeah,
of.
you can see the variation, and the fact that the current kind of year is highlighted in a dark solid. I think that method helps highlight what this year is.
My question is like the water, like, is the dam that, the spillway, is that at the 4 inches mark, or like how does the water get above what is the zero?
Yeah.
Is that just the legal
Yeah.
limit that they want to hold up to?
John?
There are two lines drawn across there horizontally. The top line is the top of the sill plate, and the next line down is the top of the stop logs.
Only about an inch
Yeah,
difference.
it's about an inch or two difference.
Can they change that as they wish, or is it stationary?
They can pull the stop logs.
Yeah. We did in, I forget which
I
year.
called last year.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
my basement
Is
flooded
that
pretty
2022?
heavily. That
When you
was
say last year,
spring 2023.
this spring, we did have them
Yeah.
pull, and that helped, that
That
took
helped
help.
alleviate it, yeah, that spring thaw, yeah.
And that's what dropped it fairly quickly, you know, in, kind of early May, I think was May, or even it might have been the day after. So the answer is those, what we call
Yeah.
stop log are removable. There's some hesitancy because the legal lake level is these things. It can get above it because basically that's a funnel and it just
Oh, yeah.
fills up a bit more. And, so again, you know, I think we as a board, and I communicate, we listen to some residents, and if there's issues, we try to work with the drain. The drain commissioner has the authority to do that. They were quite responsive once we got a hold of them and kind of talked the right talk, I guess. So good, well, thank you, John, real good. Old business, I don't think I had any, so kind of the two pieces of new business, and I kind of screwed up, I didn't print off the tentative schedule that I distributed. But I think a couple things, we've talked a little bit, I think some of our new members are trying to recruit members, you know, monthly meetings can be a bit much, so trying to go toward an every other month meeting schedule, I think, is one of our goals. And then, again, I don't recall all the details, we try to have kind of a major focus for whatever meeting it is. So like the August meeting is we wanna get our budget recommendations in at that meeting, that's a due date. The annual report, we don't have like a due date, oh, Don's got it, so. He's a better man than I. So, our annual report, we don't really have a due date in terms of the township doesn't say it's due on such and such a date. You know, but nominally like to try to get it by March. So in terms of a draft planning cycle, it's not quite every other month, but well, thank you, Judy.
Hey, bye, Judy.
So we have this meeting kind of as a planning meeting for the annual report. Skip February, in March, try to have the meeting to finalize the annual report. In April, to discuss the macrophyte treatment and lake sampling. Kind of light in May and June. July, I think a general catch-up meeting and maybe planning a little bit about budget. August, have our budget request, and then typically the plant survey is done in early August, so we're able to have that information. In the fall, it kind of, we have less to do, I think, but one would be plan for issues, but also by then we usually have the data from the lake sampling, so. Right now I had it as nominally in November, but certainly October would work too, so. I wanted to just open up thoughts on terms of, sound like a reasonable plan, or you know, having, are there months you think we should or shouldn't have it, or what?
It's fine with me. Unfortunately, I may not be here in March and April.
Yeah,
but that's,
that's where we just have to kind of, we'll live without.
Oh, it's perfect with you then.
even, yeah, I don't have a job until July.
Yeah,
But, yeah, otherwise.
yeah, we'll see, and then,
I'm here for the long haul, so whatever you decide.
so, but going less frequently, you're good with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You can always call a meeting.
Yeah.
So Sherry, does that
Yeah,
make
so-
sense?
yeah. You need a meeting, you can call it.
So
You're
sounds
good.
great.
Yeah, I think, partly, you know, I think when you were even considering, you were a little worried about frequency of meetings, and we've
Well,
got.
the frequency, just, I'm on the housing commission, which meets right before this.
Yeah.
So I'm,
Well,
I don't
it's
want them
to
to
the
overlap.
ends, yeah, it's time to
Yeah.
ends, you know. I think we've gotten to where a lot of our meetings, we kind of read, we have a good time talking, but we really don't have a lot to act upon, so.
My only thought is that if something comes up, then we might wanna meet.
Yeah,
So because it's published, we may wanna still publish as a monthly meeting and then
then.
let them know each time. I don't know how, or talk to somebody about how to
Yeah,
do
the
this.
other option is,
Like the-
we've done, if we have an issue come up, there's like I don't know if it's 48 hours for Public Meeting Act, and it's just, we just call it,
The board just did that,
yeah.
Right,
So
so
I,
yeah.
yeah, we could do that too, but then the choice, the preference would probably be to do the same night, cause that's, we
yeah,
know it's
we
available.
aim for the same kind of night.
Right.
But
Sounds good.
that being said, I think, you know, at least Taylor has suggested, you know, they like to have some pre-planning when
It's
it's
fine.
not gonna happen, just people plan vacations and that, so. So, okay, so this, I guess we will have a vote, cause right now it's a draft, so.
Move to adopt this
Move to adopt this.
planning
I'm
for
sure
our
that made
meetings.
the video camera perfectly. So, any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? So we'll put that in, and that goes into the annual report. So, transitioning there to our annual report, again, particularly for the newcomers, we've had this template for quite a long time. So mainly, it's kind of refreshing and updating, but I wanna emphasize with new people, bringing new ideas, if there's stuff you'd like to see in there, or ways of presenting it that would be more effective, we wanna hear that, 'cause so I usually take the lead, this is something I do for my daily job, so it doesn't take me long. But that being said, I get trends, this is the way I've always done it, so that forestalls any new kind of additions without somebody else looking at it. One thing that I'd suggest, you know, is March we'll look to finalize it, but in the interim, I think I sent everybody a copy, electronic, correct? And perhaps I'll try to work with each of you. One thought I had was having kind of a board member responsible for a page or two, like, that they give it the close scrutiny, and kind of try, you know, a little deeper thinking, and then communicate back to me, and we can then bring it to the whole board, you know, or if it's just edits, you know, typos, which I make, you know, that's handy to have a clear set of eyes, cause I read through it and I blow over things,
Sounds fine with me.
yeah.
I'd be willing to do it.
Yeah, so there's a couple items I still have pending. I got, the fishery division of the DNR stocks catfish is the main fishery management action they have outside the general fishing regulations, and that got revised in 2022, partly in discussions I had with our new fishery biologist. So there's a new, end quote, prescription that's written out, and that'll go in the annual report. She just sent that to me. So, yeah, but there's a couple other things I'll update, but I'll try to think about having folks look it over, but I appreciate people looking over the whole of it, and again, if there's things that are unclear. The other thing is, if you have any good photos of the lake, to send them, and then I incorporate those at the end as we have kind of space, because again, our report has gotten good reviews by the board as being pretty, but informative. There's a lot of information there, I think. So,
Like last year, it was nice.
yeah. New data. Some of the critical data though, like in all of that, some of it is the lake monitoring data. So, you know, like this, in twenty twenty-three, the water clarity was less than it's normally been. And is that a trend or not? Don't know, but that's worth noting. The phosphorus was high, so, now this year was highly unusual weather-wise, so, you know, we kinda need to see what happens next year, so. Oops. Are you gonna be public and, no.
No, I will not be public. That's what it's showing what the Secretariat's report looks
Oh, I
like,
know.
that's my copy that I keep in my records.
Pass it over. So yeah, the SECI disc is the tool, and that's used nationally and internationally, so it provides data that's comparable to other places, and it's quick to take, and it doesn't require either expensive equipment or a lot of training, so.
You don't even have to be smart.
Now, it does take a little, you know, so if someone had severe cataracts, you might not want to have them operating said equipment.
What I found is a lot of fun is, I go out with JB a lot of times, and a lot of times he'll put it down at, say, 12 feet and say, you know, he'll say 12 feet, and then I'll try it. And I'll let it all the way down to the bottom and say, well, I saw it right to the bottom. No. So you can have fun with it.
You can mess with it. I used to do some of that for a job, and it's really funny when somebody's looking over. You say, well, how far can you see in the water when you dump them in? Usually you get smacked for that, so it was worth it though. So I'll give a little more thought as I get the final pieces together and then send it out. But again, any thoughts you have on improving it? One of the main things that we don't really change, but I think as a board we've had consensus, but again, I wanna open up new thoughts, is the way I've been taught kind of management is within it, we have goals, objectives, and actions. So we've tried to lay that out for things like the macrophytes, for fishing, for boating, for swimming. And we have those topics as things kind of within our purview. Things like traffic calming, I view that is not within our purview, it's important.
Oh, I got a traffic calming report for you. In the last police report, somebody called the police out to Park Lake Road because there was some white ducks in the road.
Yes.
Oh, I wonder who those could be.
Sometimes that slows the traffic.
There you go.
They literally will walk out in the road with cars and then just stand there in front of my house and honk, and I'm like, you guys keep doing that. No one can,
I say this kiddingly, they're replaceable, and then their progeny will get the next ones.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, no.
It was
Well, there
pleasant.
was, I've seen sandhill cranes in the road, and those slow people, and then,
I've seen walk across the road, yeah.
yeah, and I don't remember if you were present, my wife was traveling one day back, and there was a snapping turtle in the road.
Yes, I was trying to get it out with the stroller. and
Yeah,
I
it
was-
was a stick, and that stopped everybody.
Yeah.
I had one come in a
Just pick it
doggy
up
door
by the
one
tail
time.
And hold your arm out,
Yeah, I just picked it up.
Yeah.
You can.
go around and rescue turtles.
Yeah, so my wife called me, and I'm not really afraid of them too much, I'm bigger than they are. They're meaner, but I'm more cautious. So anyways, so again, there's parts of the report that'll be kind of overlap, some with Friends of Parkway.
For like sediment removal, have we explored like the bacteria that eats muck?
So
As
to
a
some
budget item?
extent, in that the scientific studies on that have been pretty marginal. We did have a large study, Jennifer Jamalowitz-Jones runs Restorative Sciences, I think is the name of her company. And I know her, she was trained at MSU, and she's, you know, trained as a scientist, she has a consulting firm. So they did a study more, for the other option is aeration, and that's been used successfully in some places, but that being said, there's still equivocal scientific.
I'm using the muckway of mine, and I've noticed that like it's gotten, like on my shoreline at least, I don't know about out deeper, but like where it's warm, it stays like 50
Yeah.
degrees or more.
It seems to
That
have.
it's, yeah, I got rid of all the muck and went right down to the sand level, so
Yeah.
that was.
So again, you know, at the broad scale, again, the DEQ's kind of.
Oh, they don't like you using
Well-
bacteria?
Well, at that broad scale, I don't know the expense either. 'Cause again, the lake is 186 acres, and
Yeah.
you treated, how much?
My entire lakefront, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
I'm missing this conversation a little bit.
Oh, sorry, so it's about the muck-eating bacteria.
Oh, okay, I kind of guessed as much, but you
Yeah.
tried that?
Yeah, and I had good success along my
Yeah,
shoreline.
I've known people to try it on the lake and have some people no success at all and some
Yeah, like,
limited success
I
and,
can tell when it's working, cause it'll bubble,
Yeah.
it'll look like my shoreline's boiling in like June and July. And then last year when I did it, because I got them early and then I think when I left them outside, I might have killed the bacteria in it, cause I didn't see like the boiling as much, but the first year I did it, it was like, it looked kinda creepy, cause I was like, wow, my water is really bubbling quite a bit.
I've
But,
tried it
um,
without
yeah.
success.
Pardon?
I've tried it without success, but
You have?
then again, my shoreline boils all the time.
Yeah, so again, I will say my opinion, I
Is
think
that
that's
all
part.
right?
So, if you think about it, there's geese out there, you think there's bacteria in the lake already? I mean, it's full of bacteria. Now, whether it's that tight, I
Yeah.
don't know, so, again, I've heard very mixed results. And sometimes it's just the physical material, if it's very, the technical term is flocculent. So if the muck is very loose and you put something on it, it'll just compress it. And it's bubbling all the time, there's always, I mean, I go driving around, if I rev my motor and go fast,
Yeah.
it releases gases, so there's always gas there. So similarly, the results of Jennifer's study, they've recommended aeration in a lot of places, and I kind of did some measurements, they're in one of the reports. We have oxygen right down to the bottom in most of the lake, except for the very deepest holes, so adding more really doesn't do anything, so, but again, that's worthy of discussing again, but broadly broadcasting that type of materials, it's kind of challenging, both cost-wise, but permitting-wise. But it's worth discussing. So anyways, the annual report, I'll get some stuff out, and, hopefully, my goal will be, people will be kind of ready to kind of discuss, I'll bring my computer, we'll edit, and finalize the report at the March meeting, which kind of our next agenda will be to focus on the annual report. I think tentatively March 20th is the date. That, you said that's a date that.
I may be flying out that day.
Pardon?
I may be flying out that day, I don't
You're
know.
not sure, and again,
Safety for April.
if you've had your ability to kind of look
Yeah, I
through.
will definitely do that.
you know,
So are you gonna assign sections to us, or you could,
I'm gonna try to do that, I'll think
Okay.
about, or if you see
so
a
we don't have to read the
section-
whole thing.
no, we'll read the whole thing too, but if you want something closer, I'm glad, whatever you want me to do, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I normally read the whole thing, so,
Pardon?
I normally just read the
You
whole
read the
thing.
whole thing, I mean,
do
but
I.
I'd like to, try kind of a different method a little bit, try something new.
Let everybody play.
Because at some point, it'll be, other people can take the drive writing it.
Right.
It's the, Don's like, oh, I'm out of here. No. So anyways, again, because, again, long run, we wanna have, built up, if you will, our board capacity for doing this. If something happened to me, or I decide I can't do it anymore, we need to have kind of cross-training in some regards. So that's my goal. So with that, I think we're about done unless there's, oh yeah, we have, public comments. Anything more, Jan, to add? Question? Happy to chat. If you have questions, we can do afterward. If you have any comments?
No, it's just interesting to know what you do and, yeah. I just feel I'm on the Park Lake, Friends of Park Lake
Mhm.
board, and I was really happy that Grace was gonna be joining, because I think there's a lot that, we can do together, and I'm
Yeah.
also on the board at Bengal.
Oh, okay.
Board of directors, and they have a new, we have a new wildlife biologist there now,
Oh.
and he's really, knows a lot about wetlands, a lot of training in wetlands, and again, it's another, we're all working on similar things,
Yeah. So with that, two things that immediately come to mind is the monitoring, like that Don does with the Seki and phosphorus, and I do with the plants. We welcome other people to come. One of the goals of that whole program is, again, to broadly trained, so that goes for anybody, you know, if you wanna see how do we sample and identify plants, you know, come on out.
I've done a lot of, I've taught the water testing to students
Right.
and then, and trained in that. I haven't done it in a while, so.
Yep.
And I don't know if I have how much equipment. I did make a second disc.
Yeah,
So
we've got,
somewhere I
we've
have
got, we've got a couple, so, again, it's kinda like falling out of a boat, you never forget how, you know? So we welcome that, and then the hope was, I think the vision was, as that nature trail really comes to fruition, there are partners like Bengal that would be very valuable. I think, again, Friends of Park Lake, we've always had Judy very involved here in
Yeah.
that. But thinking about like signage and tours, and, you know, our board can help with some, but it's a group effort both in thinking about what to do and facilitating that, that's part of our role. So, wonderful, good. So with that, I think we're ready to adjourn.
So moved.
Yep.
It's my park lake.
Yeah, we usually have approved, but
I
usually
use
get up and leave and stuff.
this and a picture of Park Lake that I took off the
Nice.
computer. I got a computer question.
Yes, I've got an answer.
We're off.
Oh, wait, I better turn this off.
I've turned mine off, I turned mine
No,
off.
I just turned it on.
I have, some games, like card games that come out, I just turned mine off.
No, I turned it on. You turned it on again.
Oh, okay.
I had already turned it off.